So the second book from the Mistborn Era 1 trilogy is called The Well of Ascension and is the sequel to The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. In this review, I will first talk about this book without spoilers, so there's going to be a spoiler-free section first. Then I will give you a spoiler warning and get into the spoilers. However, I cannot talk about this book without spoiling The Final Empire. So if you have not read The Final Empire, do not watch this video at all. If you have finished The Final Empire, feel free to watch this video anyway. So now let's start with the spoiler-free section of The Well of Ascension. You don't understand, he wheezed. You don't know what I do for mankind. I was your god, even if you couldn't see it. By killing me, you have doomed yourselves. The last words of the Lord Ruler before Vin kills him with her spear. Very ominous words. By the way, the lighting might change every once in a while, as I don't have fancy lamps because I'm not that much of a fancy YouTuber, influencer, whatever yet. Maybe I'll never be, but so I'm kind of dependent on the sun to have light, so a bit old-fashioned. So I was wondering, after having finished the Final Empire, where the story would go from here. Now that their goal was accomplished, the Lord Ruler is dead, and so the one guy who ruled everything is gone. So now, of course, there's going to be a lot of different people and different parties trying to seize the power. And that is happening a lot in this book. The book starts with a year after the Lord Ruler is dead, and Eland Venture is king of Luthadel. And he's trying to do things a lot differently. So, for example, he kind of wrote a new constitution with all his different laws that were very different from when the Lord Ruler was ruling. He made a sort of parliament called the Assembly, which with different representatives of the population, with voting. So he tries to put more democracy in there. And he, of course, is a scholar type. He likes philosophy. He reads all about philosophy, about politics, about different kinds of theories, and really tries to apply that into his ruling. And he struggles with that a lot. I grew to like Eland Venture during this book, and didn't like it that much in the Final Empire. But I really grew to like him here because he's really struggling to be a good king. And his flaw is that he's really trying to be a good king. And that doesn't always work, he finds. And a lot of people disagree with him. Not the one who oppose him, but also the one who stand with him, think he should handle things differently. But sometimes he agrees with them eventually, but sometimes he just says, no, that's wrong. This is what I think is good. I'm going to do it that way. And that is his struggle through this book. And I liked his struggle with this. Meanwhile, shit is hitting the fan in the world. So, as you could read on the cover of the book, there are 3 armies gathering outside the city walls of Luthadel. And each army is from a different guy who wants to siege the city and rule the Final Empire. So besides all of Eland's struggling being a good ruler, there's also these guys outside threatening the city. So one of these guys is Straff Venture, who is Eland's Venture's dad. So in Final Empire, we already saw that Eland doesn't have a very good relationship with his dad, always trying to push his limits and always doing the things he knows his father hates. So it's even bigger in this book. A lot of political drama here. So all these armies want the legendary stash of Aetium that the Lord Ruler had, or was supposed to have in the city. And Eland is still, and his crew of the old crew of Kelsier now is basically Eland's crew. They are on his side, of course, and as they want the best for the people of Luthadel as well. And they are also after the Aetium because they cannot find it, or they don't know where it is, or whatever. Meanwhile, the armies want the same thing, and also the other economic and political benefits of owning the city of Luthadel. So what's Vin doing in this book? She's the one who killed the Lord Ruler, and word spreads. And she is a legend, basically. And she's the girlfriend of the king, Eland Venture, of course. And she has other struggles, of course. She's still a happy, jumping Mistborn. And she meets this other guy who is also a Mistborn. And I'm not going to say too much about this guy, but he's interesting because he kind of confronts her with, what kind of Mistborn do you want to be? What are you going to do with your powers? Not in the sense of are you gonna use them for good or for bad, but more like how are you gonna use your Mistborn powers? That makes for a nice development for her for kind of decisions she has to make. So it sounds kind of vague as I tell it right now, but that's all I'm gonna say about this guy. Besides that, there's the Counter-Orasur. And what the Counter-Orasur did, he was, after Kelsier died, he took his body, appeared to a group of Ska people, so they would think, well, oh, he came back from the dead and now he's a legend and we must start a church of this survivor of Hudson. And that happened. So he appeared as Kelsier had told him to do. The Orasur Conjurer appeared as Kelsier in front of those Ska people, did that, left Kelsier's body as well. But somehow after the contract the Conjurer had with Kelsier, he had a contract with Vin. So the Orasur, the Conjurer Orasur, is now Vin's Conjurer. And she doesn't like that at first. She is kind of uncomfortable with that fact. But as they hang around and they kind of get to know each other, and I really enjoyed their conversations they were having with the two of them. I also like the fact that the type of body that Vin gave him, I'm not going to say anything about it, but yeah, it's great. And each time then when Vin had a problem or something she didn't know what to do or how to handle it, or she even has questions about the Conjurer people or culture, they really get a nice relationship between each other. It's kind of a substitute to the conversations Vin used to have with Kelsier in the Final Empire, just going around the city talking about stuff, about the things happening. And now she does that with the Counter-Orasur. So yeah, that's great. There are also these other minor mysteries going on. For example, when they think there's a spy at some point and they don't know what to do, and all the political drama things that's going to happen in the assembly, and with Ian Venture as a ruler, with the armies, with Venture, with the mysterious Mistborn guy. So yeah, that makes for interesting things to keep reading. So this book is a lot more political drama than the Final Empire. The biggest issue with this book was it kind of dragged at some point. So with the Final Empire, there's a very distinct point, I think, from where the story kicks off. So I would say that's the part when Kelsier gathers his crew, including Vin, and tells everyone, we're going to pull a heist on the Lord Ruler. And that's what the book is about. And that's when it kicks off. And I was waiting for something like that, a point of this is what the book is about, to happen. And after 100 pages, I didn't feel like there was a point. After 200 pages, still not. 300 pages, and it kind of kept dragging. There were all these minor conflicts and minor things happening and changing that were interesting by themselves, but I kind of felt like, oh well, I guess this is it. This is the political drama. This is the big thing, of course. That is not interesting. Like I said, I was wondering where they would go from here after the all-powerful ruler was killed. So naturally, there's going to be conflict. So, but it dragged too much to me, and sometimes I felt like the story could be 200 pages thinner. I didn't enjoy it that much as I enjoyed the Final Empire, for example. It's a good sequel to the Final Empire, and it's also a great build-up to the Hero of Ages, the third book in this trilogy. And I know I will enjoy this book better in a reread. After now having finished the whole trilogy, I know I will see things that I already know where it's going to lead up to, and I think I will enjoy it even more. So that's all I'm going to say about the Well of Ascension. It's a bit less maybe than the things I told about the Final Empire, but if you have read the Final Empire and you enjoyed it, definitely read this book. So now starts the spoiler section. So if you have not read the Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson, click away right now, because now I'm going to get into spoilers, only for the people who have read the Well of Ascension. So like I said, I didn't like Elend Venture that much in the first book. Kind of geeky guy, likable, but yeah, he was fine, I thought. But I really like his development in this book. He really tries to do the good thing, and when you have a character like that, it helps create sympathy for the character when he's trying to do the good thing, and he's struggling, and he's making mistakes, and people tell him, oh, you shouldn't have done that. For example, when the assembly eventually votes to not make him king anymore, but have Penrod be the king of Luthadel. Tintwill, the terrorist woman who helped him how to behave like a king, how to dress like a king, what to say, how to talk. And she really gets mad at him a lot of times. And she says you should never have written a law like that that can make you stop being a king. But he still thinks that's a good thing. So it's kind of admirable in some way, but it's both his strength and both a flaw to him. Yeah, I really like that facet. He also becomes pretty badass, killing Justice at the end. I kind of was shocked by that event actually, because I thought, well, what, did you drink something weird or something, or are you under the influence of I don't know? And then you suddenly decide to kill your old friend who has been messing things up pretty bad. So yeah, Elend. And so the Kandra Orisur, and by Orisur I mean Tensoon, of course, is a very disobedient Kandra. He's basically the Kelsier between Kandras. Although Kelsier wasn't disobedient to his cow people, but he was very disobedient towards the Lord Ruler, of course. Breaks all kinds of Kandra rules that have been set 1,000 years ago. His character and his culture are more explained in the third book, so I'm not going to get into too much detail about that. But one of the rules he breaks is he kills his master Zane, which is the other Mistborn, who confronts Vin with her decisions as a Mistborn and powers. And Tensoon kills Zane. And that's one of the rules you should not ever break as a Kandra, to kill your master, with which you have contract. And Zane ordered him to pretend to be the Kandra Orisur, or first to kill the actual Kandra Orisur, take his body, of which we saw the bones earlier in the book, and everyone was like, well, wait, woo, there's another Kandra here. And then Tensoon had to pretend to be Orisur, if you follow me, to spy on Vin, basically. And Zane was actually sent to spy on Luthadel and spy on Vin as well, and Zane had his Kandra spy on Vin as well. So a lot of spying going on, and still challenging Vin's habits to mistrust people or trust people and believe them and worry about them. She still has memories of Reen, of his voice in her head, although not as much as in the Final Empire. Why does Tensoon kill Zane? Basically because he likes Vin more, I believe. And Vin finds out how she can control Kandras by soothing them, I thought it was. Anyway, by some Mistborn power. And Kandra kind of has the feeling of, well, I already told you too much about Kandra culture and the way we work and why we do things. So yeah, I might as well fuck up shit anyway. So maybe that's why he killed Zane, and he likes Vin more. So he decided to pick Vin's side. Well, although I gotta say, in the third book, his motivations are more clear as to why he follows Vin. So my favorite character, one of my favorite characters in this book is Sazed. As I mentioned in the previous video, I really like his role as a scholar, as a terrorist man who likes to read and look up information and learn about it that way. And also in this book, he leaves Luthadel to make some discoveries, and he finds writings done by the terrorist man Quan, who did the actual prophecy about the Hero of Ages. He also discovers on his trip that the mists arise during the day, when before the mists were only a nightly thing. So that's a thing that changes, and not only that, but the mists kill people. And then he kind of panics and races back to Luthadel, where he finds Jasti's army, which are Collas. And he discovers the Collas, and this is the very first time for us we see the Collas as well. And they are also at the walls of Luthadel at that point. I also gotta find it kind of interesting, the Collas are blue. You don't see blue monsters every day, so yeah, it's kind of funny, I think. Blue is not a frightening color, but the colors are quite creepy when you read about them. So yeah, and Sazed has a kind of romance with Tindwyl, the terrorist woman, as they are also very motivated to discover the things about the Lord Ruler, about Rashek and Quan, and the things that are happening, and they're trying to figure out what is going on with these writings, as they also change and they seem to contradict each other. So, and then Sazed even has a secret meeting with the crew, the old crew of Kelsier, who all help in adventure, but all have their own personal conflicts or their personal doubts about his ruling, about what is going on, what we should do about the world's problems. And Sazed eventually decides with the crew to make a fake map about where the Well of Ascension should be, the thing where Finn and Eden are looking for. It tells them it's up in the Terrace Mountains, so that they will leave the city before the big sieging starts with the armies, with the Colossus, just so that they are safe. When the Colossus attack, Sazed goes full Ferochemist as the big ass Gandalf Hulk he is, and smashes everyone, and yeah, he's a great guy. And so by the end of the book, Vin realizes the Well of Ascension is just in Luthadel, in Critic Shaw, I believe. They go there, Vin and Elend, and Sazed is afraid. He learns that the Well of Ascension should not be released. The thing in there should not be released. He figures it out from the notes of Quan. But he also figures out the notes have been changing, but yet he figured it out, and he wants to race to the Well of Ascension to stop Vin. But he's stopped by Marsh, and Marsh is not dead. He has turned into a hemorrhagic monster, into a Inquisitor with spikes and all, and he seems to be getting more and more on the bad side as time progresses, so that's bad. What eventually happens is that Vin takes the power from the Well of Ascension, as she should not do. She uses it to save Elend, as Elend was right before that stabbed by a shadowy figure in the mist, and the shadowy figure in the mist kind of gestured to her to give a metal bead to Elend so he could eat it and then save his life. But then something came from the Well of Ascension and was released, and Vin is happy that Elend is alive. I kind of felt like, oh no, he's gonna die, isn't he? All his development, all his trying to rule in vain. But no, he's not a Kelsier, so yeah, that's great. But it's kind of confusing first, because you have no idea what this guy from the mist is trying to communicate. So you first stab the guy, and then you say to give him this so you can save his life. Well, why did you even stab the guy? It's all clearer later on. And as we learn, Elend becomes a Mistborn, actually. So not only he's not dead, but he also becomes a Mistborn. And that is when you might realize Mistborn. So that's where the word comes from. After having finished The Hero of Ages, all will be clear. So I did like the ending a lot, although I did find the book was kind of dragging. And I know I will enjoy it more when I do a reread of this book. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. I'll give it 4 stars out of 5. Still enjoyed it, still a lot of good things happening. In the next video I will talk about The Hero of Ages. So what did you think about the Well of Ascension? Do you agree with the things I said? Do you disagree? Leave a comment down here below. If you like this video, you can click a like here, and you can also subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my reviews. I will see you in the next review.